Hi everyone, Melissa here. I'm back with another video. This week I have an awesome success story from one of my clients. And really quick, before I get into the success story, I just want to let you know I'm having a sale. It's now through the end of the year. All my coaching and courses is 20% off. So if you're interested in coaching or courses, check out the link in the description of the video and get a great discount. Okay, so this client, I'm super excited because this success story covers a few different areas. She had success in a few areas of her life, and her big breakthrough really was once she finally stopped obsessing over the problems, her perceived problems, and went to the solutions are here yet. What I want is already happening and true and possible for me. So I'm going to read what she wrote, and then we'll kind of go through each little part and break down what she did. But I'm really excited for her, and I intend that this success story helps you and you see the same amazing quick movement that she did. Okay, so she writes, hi Melissa, I had coaching calls with you regarding enrolling back in university again, getting money, and my specific person. I'm emailing to tell you my last success stories because I think you might enjoy hearing about them. So the last couple of weeks have been rough. I told you about my parents finding out about the university enrollment. And let me just stop here and give a little backstory. This client was previously enrolled in university, was at the point where they needed to enroll again for the next upcoming semester, and they didn't get the grades that they had hoped for. And so because of that, those 3D circumstances showed them not being able to register for the next semester. They weren't eligible to register for classes for the next semester because of the grades. Okay, so I'll go back to her email here. She says, so the last couple of weeks have been rough. I told you about my parents finding out about the university enrollment. I had negative 50 euro in my account, and my specific person completely ghosted me and disappeared. I let the university things to rest a bit because I was putting my mental health first, and my anxiety was too all over the place for me to try to manifest something with it. So I decided that I was going to fix my money issue and the specific person first so I can gain momentum and felt better about manifesting in general to then manifest university in a better mental state. So university was the thing that she really, that was her thing that she really perceived as her biggest hurdle, her biggest desire, her most wanted manifestation. And as you can see from her note, she was going through a lot of anxiety about it because the 3D kept showing her over and over again, you didn't get into these classes, you didn't get in, you're not going to be able to further your schooling. And then her parents were getting frustrated with her, right? Because they wanted her to be in university. So in order to take a break from that anxiety, she decided to shift her focus from that one subject onto money and her specific person. Okay, so first for the money, my bank account was at zero and I finished my savings. I couldn't pay for my rent, food, or my bills. I was freaking out, so I started affirming with the affirmation you gave me. And I think we talked about a few affirmations in a few sessions, but I think the big ones she was using were, I always have more than enough. I'm always receiving money. People love giving me money. It's easy to manifest money anytime I want it. Things like that. Okay, so she said, I was freaking out, so I started affirming with the affirmation you gave me. I did nothing. I did not reach out to anyone or tell anyone about my problem. I had moments of freak out, like my apartment owner showing up to my house, telling me why I haven't paid and telling me that I was going to get kicked out if I didn't pay. So I had circumstances right in my face. He kept calling and getting updates on the payments. I was a month late at this point. I told him that I was going to send it to him and that I had a problem which made me have to pay it later. But other than that, I kept affirming when something would come up. I tried my best with my mental diet, and guess what? My dad called me out of nowhere telling me that he was going to send me money. When, keep in mind, the relationship with my parents lately has been on the rocks, so I really did not expect him to send me money. Like, this specifically when I don't ask for it, and now I can pay my rent, my bills, and pay the money I borrowed from a friend. Okay, so let's stop right there and talk about that. So one of the things she was really wanting to manifest was money, and she had a lot of circumstances coming at her. Her landlord was saying, hey, you got to pay her, I'm going to kick you out. He was constantly bothering her about it. She couldn't afford to buy food. She couldn't afford to pay some other bills. And she knew she owed a friend who she borrowed money from. So that was a lot of 3D circumstances, constantly weighing on her. But she chose to stick to her story, let the outside just be noise, acknowledge it, but it's just noise. This is what's true. Money flows to me. People love giving me money. I always have enough. I always have money. And then, seemingly out of the blue, she got the phone call from her dad, and he ended up giving her money, even though their personal relationship wasn't the best at the time. They were not on really good terms, and she didn't ask him for money. He just reached out to her. So there's the money manifestation when she started shifting from focusing on the problem to focusing on the solutions here, the solutions here. Okay, so let's get on to SP. For my SP, or specific person, I wasn't affirming for it, but from time to time, I would tell myself, yeah, I know he wants to see me. Okay, so I'm going to stop right there. Maybe she thought she wasn't affirming for it, but you're always affirming something. You're either thinking that what you don't want is true, or you're thinking that something you want is true. So here, she didn't see this as an affirmation, but when she would tell herself, yeah, I know he wants to see me, that's an affirmation. It's a decree, whether you call it an affirmation or not. It's something you are deciding is true. So she said, from time to time, I would tell myself, yeah, I know he wants to see me. And sometimes imagine receiving a text from him. But mostly I have just had a good mental diet about the situation just when I would think of him. I would not think against my manifestation. She's saying she wouldn't say, oh yeah, I know he wants to see me. And then in the next thought, no, he doesn't. He's talking to somebody else. She only allowed thoughts that matched what she wanted to enter her mind. And the same day that I received the money, SP texted me to go on a date and told me that he was going right away to come see me. He lives almost an hour away. Keep in mind, we haven't talked to or seen each other at all since September. He texted me out of nowhere. However, I couldn't see him that day, so we planned for next week. And he even told me that he really wanted to see me, and he promised to make more effort with me without mentioning anything to him. So once again, she didn't reach out in the 3D. She didn't do anything out here to force what she wanted to show up. She just started telling herself, this is how it is. And then SP, out of nowhere, reached out to her. Okay, and then this is the last piece of this. And for university, my manifestation has switched a bit. I chose to transfer to another university instead, but everything is working for me regarding this, and I'm manifesting getting the classes I want in this university instead. I will update you about this soon. Thank you for your help during our sessions. Can't wait to have another session with you and update you for my next success story. Okay, so with the university, she was super hyper focused on, I didn't get in, I can't go to school. And as soon as she let go of that story and started focusing on better assumptions about other things, the university stuff started manifesting. Before this conversation, before this email, there was never the option of her being able to go somewhere else. That wasn't in her realm of possibilities. And now all of a sudden, look, here the solution has presented itself. You can go to school, you can get the classes you want. So I really was excited to share this success story, because sometimes we want something so badly that we think we are keeping a good mental diet, but really we're just constantly focusing on that we need to get it, that it's not here yet, and all the stress associated with the unwanted story. Like for money, she was so worried about it, and how am I going to pay this? I don't have enough. I can't afford my rent. I can't afford food. And she had to really shut that down, shut those thoughts down. Because remember, it's not the thoughts that are the power. It's the meaning you give them. It's whether you label them true or false. That's what determines your experience out here, your experience in your reality. So she chose not to label those unwanted thoughts and worries as true anymore. And then all of a sudden they couldn't show up in her experience because they were no longer what she perceived as true. Because remember, I say this in every video, your perception is boss. You can only experience your reality through your perception. So if you are perceiving unwanted things are true, that's going to keep showing up in your reality, in your 3D experience, until you start deciding something different, affirming something different, thinking something different. It's all the same thing. So like in that part where she said, I wasn't really affirming for SP, but I just would tell myself when I would think of him, yeah, I know he wants to see me. That, that's just one thought. That's one affirmation. That's one decree. That's one command. All the same thing. That's one thought. She wasn't sitting there affirming 24 hours a day. SP wants to see me. SP wants to see me. SP loves me. I know I'm the only one for SP. She just did it when she thought about SP, and she lived her life, and she focused on thinking good thoughts about the things she wanted in her world, assuming better things about things maybe she was stressing about before. When you think a thought, it's instant. So the manifestation is instant. It's just maybe you can't see it with your eyes in that very instant. Don't make that mean it's not true. Don't make that mean it's not happening. She could have got really hung up on that SP and said, I've been casually thinking about this for 2 weeks and I haven't seen anything from him. It must not be working. He must not want to be with me. If he wanted to, he would. He must be doing that, right? But she didn't do that. She just allowed herself to live her life. And when the thought of SP came up, she assumed the best. She assumed what she wanted. Same thing with money. She pulled herself out of that stress survival mode, and she went back to the truth of all of this, which is I am. If you're not familiar with the phrase I am, I highly suggest you look into any books by Neville Goddard or any lectures. I am is your consciousness. It's your awareness and your perception. You can only perceive through your own awareness, right? So her I am, she went back to that place of, I don't need to, this is all noise out here. This is just a result of what I'm thinking. So when I change what I'm thinking, out here changes. So I don't need to focus on this problem anymore. I can acknowledge it. I can notice it. Like with the money thing, she didn't ignore her landlord. She acknowledged it, and she said she was working on it. And then she went back within to her I am, to her inner dialogue, and maintained a better assumption. The money comes to me. People love giving me money. I always have enough. I can always afford everything I need and want. And look what happened. Somebody who she wasn't even on good terms with sent her money unsolicited, right? And that covered all of her bills. So when you stop obsessing over the problem and keep over and over telling yourself the problem is true, the problem is true, the problem is true, when you stop that, it allows for a multitude of solutions to just flood your way. But you can't see those solutions when all you're doing is looking at the problem. So for all three of these examples, with school, with money, with SP, she made a choice. She made a choice to stop allowing herself to get worked up and anxious and worried and stressed about all these things that she thought were problems. She took a step away from the one that was stressing her out the most. Excuse me. She took a step away from the one that was stressing her out the most. She's like, I'm going to stop focusing on this for right now. I'm going to change my focus to these other two things that I also want to see something different in my reality for. She acknowledged what was in front of her. She didn't dwell in it. She just said, okay, this is what I prefer instead. So I'm going to start telling myself, SP wants to see me. I'm going to start telling myself money flows to me easily and I always have enough. And then boom, super fast, both of those things manifested without her having to do any work out here. So the big shift she made was stop obsessing over the problem, notice it, decide what you would prefer to be true instead, put your attention there, focus there. Allow whatever's out here to be okay, acknowledge it, but don't dwell in it. Notice it and then move to your new story in your mind. It doesn't mean you ignore out here. She didn't ignore the landlord. She didn't ignore university. She didn't ignore SP. She just didn't take any action from the place of the problem is the truth. So, and then the solutions present themselves. So when you're not seeing a solution, it's because you're focusing on a problem. When you're not seeing the solution, it's because you're focusing on the problem. The solution is actually within the problem. So what that means is when you see something you don't like in your reality, that's how you know what you would prefer instead, which equals the solution. So what do you do in your mind? You notice what you don't like. You start telling yourself the solution is here and true now. Whether or not you know exactly what that solution is or how it's going to get there is not your problem. So like, let's do a couple examples. So the money one, her problem was, I don't have enough to pay my bills or my rent or buy food or any of that. So that's the problem. So what's the solution? The solution is having enough, right? The problem is not having enough. The solution is having enough. The solution is, if the problem is feeling poor, the solution is having money, feeling rich. So she went to that end. She stopped focusing on, I don't have enough, I don't have enough, I don't have enough, and went to, the money always comes to me, I always have enough. Boom, what she wanted manifested. The solution presented itself. Same thing with SP. You know, here's the problem is, I haven't talked to SP in multiple months. I really want to spend time with SP and go on dates. Okay, what's the solution? I talked to SP and we're going on dates. So she focused on, he wants to see me. He wants to see me. He wants to hang out. And she imagined hanging out or getting a message from him, right? Guess what happened? She got the message and they're hanging out. So when you see a problem, be a little bit happy, because that's how you know what you'd prefer instead. And then you know, okay, I got to go to the solution in my mind. That doesn't mean I have to figure out how it's going to be solved. I just know the what. I use this example a lot with clients, but it's like you are in your own movie and you know the happy ending. You know what the end is. Who cares how you get there in the middle? You just focus on the end and you get to the end. You just focus on, I know. So let's use a romantic comedy, for example. Okay, the beginning of the movie, the couple meets and they get excited and they are happy, want to be with each other. Then inevitably something happens where they are separated. Maybe somebody feels wronged and there's some trauma and some major, plot twists, right? But they stick to their story. I know I'm going to get the guy in the end. I know I'm going to get the girl in the end. I know it's going to work out in the end. I know they're my one true love, right? All of a sudden, you get to the end of the movie, guess what? Happily ever after. But all that stuff happened in the middle, right? Ended up being the bridge of incidents. We don't care about that. We just know the end. So when you're consciously creating, you go to the end. You know the end of this story, so who cares how it shows up? If you know you're getting what you want, who cares? Can you intend that things happen a way you would like? Absolutely. But don't make that your sole focus. All you have to do is decide what you prefer and stick to it in your mind. Like she did with the money. I always have enough. That was her preference. That was her new story. That was her affirmation. Like with SP, I know he wants to spend time with me. That was her new story. That was her affirmation. She stuck to it. It manifested. Even though in the 3D, both of those things were not true at the time she started just decreeing them, affirming them, they still manifested. And she didn't even believe it when she affirmed it. You don't have to believe it. You just have to go to your new story. Stop letting the noise out here dictate what's true. You are the boss of what's true in your experience because you're the only perceiver. That's why multiple people can have multiple experiences with the same circumstances, because it's all through their own perception. If use an example, like there's probably a person in your life, maybe a mutual, let's say you have a mutual friend with someone and you really like this person a lot and have great times with them. But one of your friends just is like, oh my gosh, they're the worst. They're rude, they're bossy, they're annoying. I don't like them at all, right? Why do you think you both have such a different experience with the same person? Because you each have a different perception. So from your perspective, you see them as kind and wonderful and funny and great to hang out with. From your friend's perception, they could see the same behaviors from that person, but in a bad way, right? Because it's their choice. Your perception is your choice. So when you notice you are perceiving a problem, if you continue to dwell there with your perception, if you continue to tell yourself this problem is all that's true, That's all you're going to experience is more circumstances that validate that the problem is true until you change how you are perceiving it. So a good general affirmation, if you're just really feeling overwhelmed, and I use this all the time, is somehow, some way, this is all going to work out fine. I'm going to get what I want. Somehow, some way, everything's going to be okay. Even though I can't see it right now, somehow, some way, it's all working out and what I want is true. However you want to say that to yourself, but go general in moments of anxiety, because the first thing is you want to calm yourself down. You want to start to feel more regulated and just try to feel happy again, right? And not stressed. So how do we start feeling not stressed? We stop hyper focusing on all the problems. That's the first step. Then okay, this is a problem. What do I want instead? Then that's your new story. That's where you go with your affirmations. That's where you go with your thoughts. How can I assume anything better about whatever it is I'm seeing right now? And I promise you, out here will shift when you shift your thoughts, when you shift your assumptions. All right. That's it for this video. I intend it helped you. And to this client, I'm so happy for you. Look at your movement. So many big things happening. Only more to come. Everyone watching, you can do it too. You are doing it all the time. Just shift your focus. Shift your focus from the problems are true to the solutions are here now. The solutions are true now. Okay. All right. I think that's it. So I intend you have an amazing week, and I'll see you in the next one.